Motion by Terry. Second by Jim.
Motion by Terry, second by Jim. All in favor? Director Allred.
Yes.
Director Valentine.
Yes.
Director Deaver. Aye. Director Parker.
Yes.
Okay. Item B, Director of Technology, merit increase. CEO.
So we, as you all know, have a wonderful Director of Technology here in Jason Buck, and we brought Jason in on board full-time in 2016, and since then has just done a fantastic job, not only in the role as originally designed, but he's really gone above and beyond. We did some analysis in the past several weeks just to see whether we're competitive in this particular position, and it turns out we are not. And so essentially what I'm asking of the board is that we need to do really a realignment of his duties compared to his salary. The typical salary range for this position in the region even is between $86,000 and $131,000. His current salary is $85,000. I'd like to propose that we, meet somewhere in the middle and bump his salary up to $100,000, which will be a little bit more in line with the industry average, and especially in this particular region. We did not, if you recall, implement any merit or cost of living increases, just kind of due to the pandemic and not really sure how things are going to play out budget-wise for us. So we didn't make any recommendations at the beginning of the fiscal year. I would like to make this recommendation at this time, that we make a change to his salary to realign the pay with the duties. It won't have any effect on the budget because we did put some room in the budget for potential pay increases across the board. So there will not be a budget change if we do this. So my recommendation is that we make this change effective immediately to realign these job duties.
Okay, any comments from the audience?
I'll just make a comment, and I'd also like to make the motion to approve too, but what Jason does is kind of in my crackdown, in my wheelhouse, and I think a lot of stuff you guys assume he's doing, the IT work and stuff like that, but he also does a lot of other stuff that I think if it wasn't within his realm and capabilities, we would definitely be hiring outside sources to do, and that's our radios in the tower, our security communication radios and stuff like this, which is a whole different type of technology. Anyway, I'm definitely in favor of this. I think he's worth more than that personally, but I'll make the motion to approve it for the $100K.
Parker will second motion. Parker seconded. All in favor? Director Allred.
Aye.
Director Valentine.
Yes.
Director Deaver. Aye. Director Parker.
Yes.
Okay, how come you guys always wait so long? Okay. Reports. Finance report. Brown Armstrong has the audit report. The gentleman from Brown Armstrong, if you're on.
Actually, Carrie, can you mind going through the treasurer's report first, Carrie, and then introduce Garage?
Yes, I'll definitely do that. Well, this month we're reporting the financials for month ending September 30th. Bank balance has an $83,000 increase. Our September fuels have been up once again just due to the forestry and F-18. We sold 141,000 gallons in the month of September. Our AR aging is looking better. We have 3 companies that are currently with legal and should be wrapped up. Those 3 are EPS, Randall Kelly, and Shinnick. All 3 of them have vacated the building, so we're just working out the amount due on their account. Dragon Aviation is still on the report, but they are continuing to make their current month's payment as well as their payment arrangements that they have worked out with us. The gym is back open. So they've had some loss of members, but also gaining some new members. So looking forward to the gyms being able to remain open. So that's all I have for my financial report. And as Bill had mentioned, Raj with Brown Armstrong is on the phone. They completed our audit, and he's here to report the financial statements.
I have one question.
Okay. Yeah, go ahead.
In regards to Dragon Aviation, they don't have a hangar or a building here anymore, right? They're just simply paying what they owe.
No, they still have they're a current tenant of ours.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I wasn't sure if they were, or if they vacated and were just paying their tax balance. All right, that's all I had.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay,
Okay.
go ahead.
Right. Thank you, Carrie. Good afternoon, all the board members. Just for the record, my name is Neeraj Datta. I am the new audit partner with Brown Armstrong, your external auditor. I was a manager on this engagement. I have been working the past 4 to 5 years, and this is my first year as a partner on this account. Now, included with your board package, you have district's financial statement for this year. You also have our audit report and an outline of the items that I will cover in my presentation. So, and after the presentation, I'll be happy to take any questions if you have any, or you feel free to interrupt me in between if you want to. So, with that understanding and with your permission, I would like to start with the first item on the outline, which is audit purpose. Purpose of the audit is, thank you. Purpose of the audit is to provide an opinion whether the district's financial statements are in accordance with accounting principles generally accepted in the United States of America, and if they are free of any material misstatement. Now, to form our opinion, Brown Armstrong follows a well-defined audit process, and that is listed on the outline as item number 2. Audit process primarily consists of I would say 5. Basically, there are listed 6 there. 6 items. So first one is the timeline coordination with district staff. Now, this is done during the planning stage. We prepare a critical dates list, and that is done in consultation with district staff. Carrie has taken a big part in that. So we list in detail the activities that will need to be performed for the audit. We also list down who will be performing it, what time, and we try to follow the same, the timeline throughout the audit process. So I'm very pleased to inform to the board at this time that we have met all the agreed upon timelines. And for that, I really congratulate all the district staff. They were very helpful throughout the audit, and this process has been very smooth. Especially in the current year when because of the COVID protocol, it was very difficult basically to perform the audit remotely. But we did a good job, I would say. So, sorry, I just basically got disconnected. Can you hear me?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you. So, second step in the audit process is the understanding and evaluation of district internal control. This is primarily done through inquiry and observation. We perform various walkthroughs, and we document the major system processes. And this covers the various major systems like the accounts receivable, for example, accounts payable, area, cash transactions, operating expenses, and also your financial close and reporting processes. Also, at this stage, we basically test your internal controls, the general internal control environment as well. Next step on the audit process is the confirmation. Now, evidence obtained through auditors' direct knowledge are considered the strongest form of audit evidence. And for these districts, the confirmations, we have confirmed all the banks. We obtained the confirmation from all the lawyers you have utilized. You have an actuary, outside consultant, which prepares your OPED report. You obtain the confirmation from them as well. And you get a lot of data from CalPERS for your pension liability, and we have got the confirmation from them too. And after that, basically, next two steps, I was saying, they are listed as separate, the interim testing and the final fieldwork testing. It's basically that consists of the test work. Interim testing primarily concentrates on the internal control and the system documentation. And the final fieldwork, basically, we concentrate on the financial statement and your year-end test procedures. And the finally, the final step, which I'm doing right now, we present our reports, the reconciliation to the board. So now I would like to move to like the significant audit areas which we have identified specifically for this district. Now, to identify significant audit areas, we perform a risk assessment. And we focus on those areas, and that's obviously we utilize our materiality thresholds too. So there are 3 areas which have been identified significant for this district. Capital assets, participant data, which you get from CalPERS, and your actuarial information, and accounts receivables. Now, for capital assets, you obtain all your additions or basically your retirements or deletions during the year on your assets. We check for their accuracy. We ensure the capital schedule, which has been prepared by the district staff, is accurate, and the depreciation which they have computed is accurate too. Now, this schedule is included in your financial statements, and that is on page number 2 of the financial statement. Sorry, it's on the page number 17. It's note number 2, page number 17. Second significant audit area is the participant data. So we obtain like the reports from CalPERS, and we do obtain your actuarial valuation, and we basically ensure like the pension liabilities which are allocated for this district is like properly computed and reported on your financial statement. And there's a big note if you look at note number 4 in the financial statement, which starts from page 18 and from page 27. That gives you the full information about your retirement plan and your pension. And finally, I'll come to accounts receivable. Well, we basically identify which are your major receivables. We do confirm them. We also perform some analytics on those balances. With an inquiry, we want to basically ensure if there are any doubtful accounts you have, do we need to make any allowances for them at the year end. So we do not have any allowance, any allowance for doubtful accounts in the current year audit, and that is disclosed on page number 13, note number 1M. So after this, I will go through the reports which we are issuing after the conclusion of our audit. So mainly there are 3 reports. First one which has our opinion, and that is on page 1 and 2 of the financial statements. It's a clean opinion. We do not have any findings there. Our second report, which is internal control and compliance report, and that is included on page 33 and 34 of the financial statement. And again, it is a clean report, there are no findings. Just to give you a background, we do not give any opinion on the internal controls. It's only while planning and performing our audit, and we do consider internal control structure as a basis for designing our audit procedure, just to determine the nature and timing of the audit procedure. So while doing so, if any material weakness or any significant deficiency in the internal controls comes to our knowledge, as per the governmental auditing standards, we are required to report that. So again, I'm happy to basically report, we do not have any findings. It's a clean report. In the third report, which is in the form of SAS 114 letter, which is included with your board package. This is the required communication to the board, which we got to basically do in accordance with our professional standards. This report covers reporting of any sensitive estimates or any disclosures, and we do have one disclosure there. It's a significant estimate note 4, which I discussed it this is for the retirement plan. We do not have any new gas fees which we have implemented in the current year. And also, in this letter, we are required to report if we have any difficulties encountered in performing the audit, any corrected or uncorrected misstatements, any disagreements with the management, any findings or other issues. So I'm happy to basically report that we have now. So with that, I conclude my presentation, and if you have any questions, I'll be happy to take those ones.
Any board member questions?
I have none. No, I don't. I'm
Okay.
looking at it.
Bill, it's Karina. I've got a question. So, Niraj, I appreciate your explanation. I think, overall, we had a really healthy financial year, all things considered. with a lot of uncertainty, the last half of the year, our fiscal year for us. We had a question come up. So we've been talking with iBank about potential financing with them. One of the questions they asked was regarding the unrestricted portion of the net position on the balance sheet on page 8. And I couldn't find anything in the notes to really describe why that negative amount had increased from 19 to 20. Do you have is there either something in the notes that I could point to try to explain this a little bit more? They were specifically inquiring about the unrestricted balance rather than the net investment in capital assets from year to year, and why that credit amount increased.
Well, basically, this is a net position, right? Basically, and if you look at, we have basically a law, right? If you look at page number 9, there is a change in net position. So, like, the net position has gone down, which is negative 523,312. So that will contribute towards your downfall in your net position, and that's primarily basically fitting into the unrestricted portion as well.
Okay, but it does not include anything like depreciation, right? Depreciation is already taken into account under the net investment in capital assets number or line item?
That is correct, because the line just above the unrestricted, that is basically your restricted balance, and that is only for the capital assets. So this amount excludes that amount.
Got it. Okay.
But if you need more information, yeah, I can provide, like, basically, pretty much, I think Karina will have it too. But carry.
Okay.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, Niraj, thank you very much for your presentation and for your company's work in assisting us with this audit.
Thank you very much.
Okay. CEO, General Manager reports.
All right. So the biggest thing I wanted to highlight on the report was the Taxiway Charlie project. So we had our kickoff meeting with the contractor October 7th, and they started to express some concerns about timing. So they were okay with the mobilization timing, the project timing, everything else. The thing that they expressed concern about was the actual paving. So paving probably wouldn't take place until, toward the end of November, beginning of December, and there was a lot of concern about the weather. So with asphalt in particular, the warmer temperatures are typically better, and we had a long discussion with them and then also with the FAA about, at the end of the day, we want to ensure that we get a good quality product that we're not repairing a year or two down the road. So we made the decision to delay the construction portion of the project until springtime, so it's likely getting moved to March 15th. They'll start to mobilize February 15th. There are some other aspects of the project that we can continue working, but the paving portion will hold off until warmer months. So that's the biggest news on the CEO report I wanted to mention. Any questions about that specifically?
Have we started drawing against that grant already?
Yes. So that was the biggest concern that FAA had, is that the grant itself doesn't stay stagnant. So there is still some design work we've already drawn. Carrie, actually, do you want to speak to what we've submitted so far?
Yeah, we did. I've actually have made 2 draws. One I've made on the entitlement money we had received, the $333,000. So I have submitted that, and that got approved. Hasn't been deposited into the bank just yet, but should be shortly. In addition, I did do our first draw on the main grant of $400,000, which takes us through August. So in the next 3 to 4 months, then I'll process another draw for September and October and kind of space them out so we're doing consistent draws.
Okay. Yeah, I knew that was kind of one of the requirements. I appreciate the update.
Yeah. And we'll still have some design work and other things that we can invoice on, but the construction itself will be somewhat delayed. But I think that's better for us in the long run. We'll have a much better product at the end of the day.
That we have to match come off the front end or the back end?
So that's a good question. And typically the way it works is the FAA won't consider the project until you have it essentially designed and pre-engineered. So they have to have some idea of what the value of the project is before they'll decide whether they're going to issue the grant money. So we essentially have to front those costs, which we did last year. We did all of the design work, pre-engineering work, which was in the ballpark of $850,000. And so that's what Carrie just mentioned as what we submitted for reimbursement. So when once the project is approved, then all of those funds that we've prepaid can be reimbursed. That doesn't necessarily mean, though, that it's covered. So it is still a 90% grant, which means we have to come up with 10%. The total value of the project is in the neighborhood of $9.5 million, which means we're coming up with $950,000. So at the end of the day, it's mostly a wash. You know, what we spent in design and pre-engineering dollars, we'll recoup some of that. But, you know, when we go through the project, we're still on the hook for paying 10% of essentially every invoice, if that makes sense.
Right, but in essence, we've already met our matching funds.
We have, but we will basically get some of that reimbursed back now. So that's what Kara just mentioned, that it hasn't hit our bank account yet, but we've applied for it. And then when we do every payment from this point forward, we'll essentially get, 10% that we'll have to pay in.
Gotcha. So they take it along the way as they make payments.
Yep. And the reason really is for a lot of agencies, these projects overlap several years. So, if the organization at the airport authority fronts the money a year or two in advance, then they're able to recoup that. And then if the project extends out for 2 or 3 years, they don't have to eat that huge cash amount up front. They can sort of take it in smaller bite-sized chunks along the way.
No, that makes sense. Thank you.
I might mention that one of the things the airport has pretty much always have done in the past, they have projects that are pre-engineered. There's been occasions, and I think we're in the FAA's better grace than we used to be, so where if you have a project ready to go, a lot of times at the end of the year, they'll have money that because maybe some airport got a grant and couldn't come up with matching funds, that we're able to say, hey, we're ready to go with this. So, and I think we still have the last half of, Taxiway B, right?
In terms of the project, we've done most of that already. There's a little bit left potentially if we want to extend that taxiway down a little bit further. But I think we have right now a lot of more high priority projects in the interim.
Yeah, but I'm talking about pre-engineered projects or something that should money come along.
Right.
We're not sitting here trying to engineer something. We've got something in hand that we've spent our money up front on to be able to possibly get a last-minute grant from the FAA.
Yep, that is true. So that is the only one that's really kind of shovel-ready at the moment. 30 rehab project, and then after that it'll be, or around then, depending on what the FAA is funding for, the airfield lighting project, which is essentially down Alpha, replacing a lot of the lighting and electrical under there. And it's going to kind of depend on what funding is available for next year. I'm feeling pretty optimistic that FAA will have some discretionary funds for us to be able to do the 1230 project. I didn't really expect it because it's kind of unusual for FAA to fund the General Aviation Airport, a $10 million project as it is, which we've already secured. But to do another project sort of back-to-back with that, I was not expecting it, but they seem very optimistic and very interested in investing in Mojave, which I think is a really good sign that they've taken another look at us over the past couple of years. So we'll see, what they want us to prioritize on our ASIP, and I'll report that back to the board once we have that meeting with them.
Okay. Okay. Any other questions on the CEO's report? Okay, board committees, any reports? Board directors, any comments?
Yeah, I think we're going to let Karina take this. We did have a meeting that they run together a few days ago, Andrew, Karina, and I, discussing the move moving forward process as far as interviewing and setting up questions and stuff like that. Karina, you want to kind of fill in the details?
Sure. So, as the board recalls, we listed the CEO position for applicants a couple weeks ago. It's going to be open until November 13th. So, so far we just discussed the process of going through resumes. We discussed a little bit about the timing of conducting interviews. And it's going to kind of depend on if we we don't really know if we're going to get flooded with a bunch of additional resumes up until closing. So we may just postpone the interview process altogether until the week of the 16th. I would say that most of the resumes we've gotten somewhere in the neighborhood of 50. Many of them don't meet the minimum requirements. So we're just going to prepare to respond to a lot of those with thank you for your interest and focus on the qualified applicants. And that's pretty much where we are so far.
Okay. Any other board of directors announcements or anything?
I had a question about this, Director Parker. I had a question about the fitness center. Since we have a card lock system there, does everybody have to swipe in and out to go in there?
Yes.
Or is the door just open during the day for whoever?
I don't know what they're doing right now. Jason or Floyd, do you guys know, if either of you are on the line, do you know if they're keeping it locked during the day?
This is Jason. During their business hours, when it's staffed, the door remains unlocked.
Okay, the reason I'm asking, where I'm going with this, is if we could get, next meeting or two meetings, I don't want to put a lot of time into it, but just an idea of how much actual use we're getting from our members. Maybe an hour count and the amount of members each month that are actually using it via the door swipes.
Well, I think we can do it. I think we can do one better because right now, as far as I know, they're basically having everyone schedule when they want to come in and work out. So we're limited to, I think it's 10% capacity. That's the Kern County mandate at the moment that we're following. So right now it's something in the neighborhood of 10 people per hour is what we're limited to. So they're keeping count pretty accurately of how many are coming and going during the day.
Yeah, I mean, where I'm going with this is just to see what the value is of the fitness center. I know we're down, from a high of almost 600 members to whatever we are now, mostly due to COVID probably. But I'd like to get an idea of where our money is going on that project, to how many people, we may have 450 members, but only 100 of them are using it.
Right.
If we could get some sort of spreadsheet, just, showing some of those kind of numbers, I'd kind of like to see that. But, I know we got a lot of irons in the fire right now, so just when available.
Okay. That's absolutely fair. I can have Elevation try to put some of that stuff together.
Thank you. That's all I have.
Okay. Any other board comments? Okay, public comment on items not on the agenda. Members of the public may make comments to the board on items not on the agenda. Hearing none, we're going into closed session. The public meeting is adjourned for the time being.